Hi, my name is Haylea-Layne Miller, and I did a literature review on microplastics in water, and today I'm going to be sharing some of the research that I found. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about microplastics, and then my presentation is broken up into four main themes. The first one being the occurrence and sources of microplastics in water, followed by the detection and quantification techniques, the health and environmental impacts, mitigation and future direction, and then I'm going to wrap my presentation up with my conclusion. So the purpose of this project was to look at the forensic environmental chemistry and tracking these microplastic contamination. So microplastics are small plastic particles that are less than 5 millimeters in size, and they have raised some environmental concerns due to their presence in freshwater systems as well as drinking water. And this has health risks for both humans and ecosystems. So occurrence and sources of microplastics in water. Microplastics are widespread across both natural and human impacted water sources, such as rivers and lakes, which has contamination from urban runoff, wastewater discharge, and atmospheric deposition. Groundwater, which has contaminants from soil leaching and percolation of plastic waste. And tap water, which has inefficiencies of water treatment, contamination from aging distribution systems. And then bottled water, which could be from plastic packaging and the bottling process. So these sources can be both industrial and domestic. So these industrial sources would be plastic manufacturing, textiles, tires, and paint. And domestics would be laundry, litter, microbeads, and cosmetics. And then the waste water treatment plants sometimes fail to remove all the microplastics. They're only able to remove like the larger debris and not some of these smaller debris, which is what's getting into the water. And then geographic location, population density, and treatment effectiveness have all impacted the levels of microplastics, which is why some areas are worse than others. So detection and quantification techniques. So analytical methods characterize the microplastics based on their size, shape, polymer composition, and concentration. And these are some of the key techniques that I found in the research I looked at. So spectroscopy helps to identify the chemical concentration. Chromatography identifies the plastic polymers. And then microscopy and imaging helps visualize the microplastics. One key thing I found when looking at these techniques is that there was no standards. So it was hard to compare each of these studies to each other. So then for health and environmental impacts, this slide focuses more on the ecosystem. So when like for bioaccumulation, when a small fish ingests microplastics and then it's eaten by a bigger fish, it moves up the food chain. And then for algae blooms, the microplastics and nutrient runoff promotes algae growth, which is depleting the oxygen. And then it's also reducing oxygen levels and increasing toxins, making it harder for fish and plants to survive. And then sediment contamination. Microplastics is settling in these sediments, disrupting the nutrient cycle and harming organisms. And then this slide's focusing more on the human impact. So these microplastics that are carrying these toxic chemicals can affect brain function. It can cause heart disease, lead to lung irritation and inflammation, and it can also cause kidney damage or impaired function, as well as affect the gastrointestinal region and causing inflammation down there. So mitigation and future directions. So water treatment technologies such as membrane filtration and activated carbon absorption, prevention strategies such as reducing single-use plastics and biodegradable alternatives, and improving recycling techniques. And then policy and consumer action, microbead bans, stricter regulations, and consumer awareness could all help with this. And then I think there's a need for global policies and scientific innovation that would also help. So some of the research gap I found, that there's a lack of standardized methods, and this makes it really hard to compare study results. So I think there's a need for standardized methods that would help with this. There's also unclear long-term health effects. So there's more toxicology research that is needed. There's water treatment gaps, so advanced filtration needs to be improved. And then stronger regulations, such as like global standards for microplastics and water are still developing, and this is definitely a need. So for the future of microplastics research, microplastics are widespread and have potential health and environmental risk, and detection methods are improving, but there's still that need for standardization. There's also an urgent need for better mitigation strategy and global policies, and then future research should focus on toxicity treatment efficiency and prevention. And these are my references. Thank you for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.